In July of 2023, my husband and I started the carnivore diet, and within 2 weeks, we were shocked at the results. Hi, I'm Lindsay Sewell, and if you're new to this channel and you have no idea why I started the carnivore diet, I will put a link to this video afterwards on why my husband and I decided to do a 30-day carnivore reset. But we were shocked by what we started to feel and discover within the first 2 weeks. And so I wanted to record this video on my top 10 important tips for beginners if you're considering starting the carnivore diet. Now, pretty much prior to, I would say, June of 2023, I had never even heard of the carnivore diet. And then I was listening to a podcast with Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson, and Jordan Peterson was talking about doing the carnivore diet, and it helped him really heal some of his medical conditions that he was struggling with. And I started to do some research because I had been dealing with brain fog and inflammation and weight gain that I just couldn't take off. And I just was really looking to figure out what were the root issues of these problems. And everywhere I turned when I did research on the carnivore diet, I just saw such positive results from the people that were following it. So I read books from Dr. Paul Salandino, Dr. Sean Baker, and I watched hours and hours and hours of videos from Dr. Ken Berry. And so because of that and my personal experience, I'm going to share with you these top important 10 tips that I think you need to consider if you're going to start the carnivore diet. Now, tip number 1 is you can ease into this. And I highly suggest that you do to eliminate some of the suffering that I've seen other YouTubers and other people who are doing the carnivore diet experience. A lot of people will talk about the keto flu. They'll talk about feeling really terrible their first 2 weeks because they go cold turkey and they just start eating only beef and water, and that's it right away. And when I was listening to a bunch of Dr. Berry's videos, he talked about it's easier to start a carnivore diet if you ease into it, especially if you're coming off of a very traditional standard American diet that is very heavy in sugars and carbs. You're likely going to feel a ton of withdrawal symptoms if you go cold turkey. So we started off by incorporating some beef organ capsules into our diet, by cutting down our carbohydrates, by increasing our electrolytes a couple weeks before we went much stricter carnivore. And I say much stricter because we did not go completely strict, just beef, bacon, butter, and eggs. Carnivore, we still included raw dairy into our diet, as well as some non-toxic vegetables. So things like cucumbers and zucchinis, and those, I guess those are really more fruits. So non-toxic fruits and avocados, stuff like that, that really didn't cause us very much trouble and inflammation. So easing into it can really help to minimize the effects of that kind of keto flu that everybody talks about. Now, I mentioned that you want to get more electrolytes, so that's number 2. Our favorite are the element electrolytes. And funny thing, I kept calling them elemental, LMNT. I seriously could not pronounce this, but I've got it down now. It's element, and these are our favorite electrolytes that we found because you have 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium. They are quite salty, so I mix them in about 24 ounces of water. I don't think I'm going to have to take these every single day long term, but right now, because it's summer, it's hot, I'm exercising quite a bit, and I'm just getting started in my carnivore journey, I am finding that these have really helped me to keep my electrolytes up. So I didn't get a lot of the keto flu symptoms. I didn't get fatigued. I didn't get muscle cramps. I've literally heard people say they couldn't get out of bed for the first 2 weeks, and that was not my experience at all. So I would highly recommend, I'll put a link below if you want to try these. These are the cleanest ones I found, and Element, I am loving your products. So number 3 is don't eat too much lean protein. Now, I had no idea. I used to eat, lean chicken breast and then a plate of veggies, and I thought I was being super healthy. And that's fine if you're consuming like a high carbohydrate diet, but there's actually something called rabbit starvation that can happen to you if you consume too much protein without enough fat or carbohydrates. And so this is why it's so important when you're doing a carnivore diet that you're not just eating super lean proteins. Even when I make my chicken nuggets, which I love because let's be real, I love buffalo chicken, anything. So I take my chicken breast and I batter it with some egg wash and I grind up pork rinds and bread it with that. And then I fry it in beef tallow. So the meat may be lean, but I'm getting lots of fat in my meal anyway. So eat those ribeye steaks, eat the eggs with the yolks, put butter on your stuff and enjoy it, because that is what you're supposed to do on a carnivore diet to feel good. Our brains need fat, our bodies need fat to function well. And so don't be afraid of it. Number 4, because you're going to be consuming a lot more meat than you probably were before, I recommend you get the best possible meat that you can. Now, if that means that you have to start your carnivore diet on hot dogs and salami, then you've got to do that. But I would do whatever you can to invest in higher quality meats, grass-fed, grass-finished. We actually bought an entire half of a cow again this year, and it ends up coming to less than $5 a pound for grass-fed, grass-finished beef. And that's steaks and ground beef, because you're getting the whole half of the cow. We get our chickens from local farmers where we know what they're being fed. We get our eggs from our friends at Edison Eggs, and we buy our pork from a pasture-raised farmer, as well as our raw dairy. So we're making sure that because we are going to be consuming a lot more meat, we really want the quality of that meat to be as high as we can possibly afford, so that we can get the most nutrients and eliminate as many toxins that could be potentially in the other foods that you're consuming. So number 5, when you're getting started on this, you want to eat mostly ruminant animals. What are those? Those are animals with multiple stomachs. So cows, elk, goats, animals like that are fine. Lamb, my husband loves lamb. I don't eat a lot of lamb, but I love beef. And the reason is that especially with beef, it's very bioavailable. They're going to be higher in those nutrients and vitamins that you need, so that you make sure that you're really taking care of your body and giving yourself all the vitamins and nutrients that you need. Number 6 would be, if you are starting a carnivore diet because you're struggling with autoimmune disease or leaky gut or diabetes, I would suggest that you do the first few months as cleanly as possible. I just said I still am having raw dairy and avocados, and I'm eating more than just beef, bacon, butter, and eggs, which is basically a very, very clean carnivore diet. But the reason that I'm doing that is because I wasn't coming to this with an autoimmune disease. I simply knew that I could improve my health, that there was some inflammation in my body. I probably had some symptoms of leaky gut, and I wanted to improve that over time. But I would be getting more dramatic results if I was eating a cleaner diet. And you also aren't going to be able to figure out what are the things that are really triggering your autoimmune disorder if you don't eliminate them. That's why people do elimination diets. Now, granted, I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice. It's just based on lots of videos and research and reading that I've done. And then I'm sharing my personal experience to hopefully inspire you to see if you can improve your health as well. But don't take what I'm saying as the word of fact, because this is simply my experience. I didn't need to eat a very clean carnivore diet starting out, but I've seen people really advocate for that in the beginning if you have major health issues that you're trying to resolve. Now, if you are going to consume dairy products, then on a carnivore diet, I suggest they be raw milk dairy products. Those don't seem to impact and inflame people as much as processed dairy products, and you're getting amazing vitamins and nutrients. Just our personal experience is that incorporating raw dairy into our diet over the past 7 months has completely eliminated all of the eczema flare-ups that my daughter and I had both been struggling with for years. So I'm a huge advocate of raw dairy. We actually went through a website called Farm Match. I can put a link below, and we were able to find a raw dairy producer that we could get a local delivery from. Number 8, In the beginning, before you get fat adapted, you might notice a decline in your athletic performance. I noticed that in the beginning that I would go swim at the gym and I was very fatigued very quickly and easily. I'd go out for a walk and I would want to come home a lot sooner than I normally do. And I think that was just because my body was looking for the glucose and the carbohydrates it was so used to, and I wasn't quite fat adapted yet. Now, a few weeks into this, I'm feeling like I'm very much fat adapted. My energy levels are high all day. I'm actually finding that it's very easy to intermittent fast without thinking about it. I'm just eating naturally later in the day for my first meal because that's when I'm hungry. And my eating window is shrinking to only about 6 hours per day. But if you notice that your athletic performance is really struggling, then you could incorporate back in some carbs, maybe some raw honey or maybe some very low toxin fruit into your diet that's going to help you have that sugar that you need to enhance your athletic performance. Now, number 9. A lot of carnivore diet advocates and doctors say you have to eat nose to tail. And when I did my first video, I had a bunch of people come back and say, you don't. If you're eating fattier cuts of meat and you're eating different pieces of the animals, you are going to get the vitamins and nutrients that you need. So this one is maybe a little controversial, but people say you don't have to eat the organs. I was not looking forward to eating the liver and the pancreas and the spleen and the kidney and the heart and all of those things. My husband's really excited about the tongue, but I don't think that really counts. But what I did find was I absolutely loved taking the desiccated organ capsules. Like I said, we eased into the carnivore diet and I did start taking these capsules about a week before we officially started. And I noticed almost instantaneously that these were improving my energy levels. I don't know, it could be placebo effect, but I am a huge advocate of these capsules. They have liver and heart and kidney and pancreas and spleen and trace minerals. So I know that I'm getting everything that I need now from my diet, especially with incorporating these capsules. So if you don't want to eat the organs, you could try these. I'll link them below. I started off only taking 1 or 2 per day. I'm now up to 4 per day. I eat them with food because I don't want any liver burps. But so far, I have not had any negative issues with these capsules, and they are really helping me feel amazing. So I'll put that below if you're like, oh, liver freaks me out. I could take a capsule. And last but not least, number 10, if you're considering the carnivore diet or maybe you just started, I am going to say stick to it or get started. I cannot believe how incredible I'm feeling. Both my husband and I have lost weight in just the first few weeks of doing this carnivore diet. Our energy levels are through the roof. My mental clarity is incredible. I'm sleeping really well and I feel like I'm 20 again. The only thing I regret is that I didn't find out about this sooner. So I will post a full update for my full 30 days, including all of my results and the meals that we liked the best. That will be coming to the channel shortly. So I'll see you in the next video.